I'm Brian Christner, and this is The Byte, a bite-sized podcast about containers, cloud, and tech. Welcome back to The Byte. In this episode, we're going to do a KubeCon recap, KubeCon 2019. It's been a heck of a week last week. We were traveling to Austria for some customer visits, and I just completely missed out on recording some episodes, so I'm back. And I had plenty of time to actually review all the news come out of KubeCon. It was an incredible amount of news. Corey Quinn, from last week in AWS, was actually attending KubeCon, which is great because he's a really great person to listen to and understand his viewpoint on the technologies, and he really is critical on the technologies. And he several times said, everyone's trying to manage Kubernetes, everyone's trying to roll their own version of it, etc. So he has a very interesting viewpoint on the Kubernetes world and how that's going. But the announcements at a KubeCon were, they're slowly becoming more standard releases. There's no shockers coming out anymore because the community is maturing. And that's really the key message here is that the community is still growing rapidly, unbelievably. But we're starting to see kind of not even a plateau, but we're starting to get to the top of the curve where we're, the hype cycle is not completely there yet, but you can definitely see that the technology is mature enough that people are using it and it's becoming more stable. Now, some key announcements out from KubeCon, actually before KubeCon actually launched, was Bitnami, the provider of all the Docker images and packaged software, was purchased by VMware shortly before the conference. And that's pretty big news because Bitnami is a nice service. I use them for several different projects because they package together, for example, like WordPress. They document the heck out of it. They tell you all the ins and outs, where you should look, how you should operate it, how you should grow it. If you want to do high availability, they do it and they maintain it, which is really also awesome. And it's a great product. I recommend if you ever look for an image, check out Bitnami images because they're very well documented, like I said, and they're battle tested. Another announcement out of KubeCon was Rancher launched Rio. So Rancher launched not so long ago K3s, which is the slimmed down version of Kubernetes. Now on top of that, they launched Rio, which is a micro platform as a service based on top of K3s. So it's a micro platform as a service, and the idea is to get closer to the edge and start bringing more services to the edge. I think it's a brilliant model, and Rancher continually surprises us on the features they keep announcing. But the real shocker here was Microsoft. Microsoft is the one that had all the announcements. First, they announced Visual Studio Code Kubernetes, new Kubernetes extension, which is now supported. It's actually a certified extension. And this is quite big because Visual Studio Code is now becoming the standard, and now they're really throwing their weight behind creating the tool set to actually support it. The next thing out of Microsoft camp was the virtual kubelet hit 1.0, and that's basically a serverless Kubernetes distribution, and it allows you to run Azure container instances, and it's bringing serverless as a complete package offering within Kubernetes. I find this quite cool. I haven't played with it yet, so it's kind of new to me as well. I'll have to dig into it a little bit more. Helm 3. Helm is obviously the de facto standard for packaging and deploying Kubernetes applications, and Microsoft announced the first alpha of Helm 3. Also a big announcement because they're throwing all their resources behind, making RBAC and CRDs. They're making it part of Helm 3, which is what everyone's been asking for. Now, what really shook everybody, the biggest announcement from the conference was Service Mesh Interface. And what that is it's a new standard interface across all service meshes. So Istio, Envoy, it doesn't matter the service mesh, but we're going to have a standardized interface to all these. And why is that important? Because all these service meshes popped up so quickly and grew so quickly, they developed their own ecosystems, their own APIs. Now, if you're a company that runs several service meshes, you also have to integrate all these different APIs. Well, this new service mesh allows us to actually, the service mesh interface really, standardizes across all service meshes and allows us to define traffic policies, traffic telemetry, traffic management across all these different service meshes. If you look at it, it's like standardizing the gas nozzle in cars. Every car has a gas nozzle, but if they're all different, it's a bit difficult to operate. You can obviously operate it, no problem, individually, but it'd be much easier if they're all standardized. And that's what SMI is doing. It's really standardizing the Istio interface to make it easier to operate and manage. So that's really the KubeCon recap. There was some great news coming out of the ecosystem. The ecosystem's continuing to grow. One of my favorite so far, what I've seen so far is my favorite talk from KubeCon is the Spotify talk, where Spotify talked about on the keynote how they accidentally deleted all its cube clusters in production. Yeah, they deleted, what'd they say, about 50 nodes or something like that, 50 node cluster, and 0 user impact. They were actually trying to do a migration from one of their other cloud providers to Google Compute Engine, and it just went horribly wrong. They deleted the cluster, then it walked you through how they recovered, how long it took to recover, how a lot of scripts weren't ready and things were not in place to actually do this recovery, and how they went forward in this learning. And this just shows you the Spotify culture is all about learning and embracing failure. And I think more companies can learn from this as well. This is a brilliant talk. It's really nice to hear somebody, hey, we're not doing everything right. We do fail once in a while, and this is how we did it, and this is what we learned. It brings us back to the Kubernetes fail stories, same type of situation, but they're actually talking about a KubeCon QNet, and I thought that was quite nice. That's all we have for this episode of The Byte. Look forward to some more episodes coming up. I have a whole queue in my queue to get up and running, so bear with us. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Byte. You can find the show notes at thebyte.io and follow me on Twitter at I Do My Own Tricks.